Everyone keeps asking this little question. Will Bitcoin go to a new all-time high, or is that the cycle over? Truth is, I'm prepared for both. And honestly, I'm not bothered which way we go because I think we're going to get lower. We're also going to get higher. It just depends on time horizon. So today I'm going to showcase what I'm going to do. If we pump, what will I do? If we dump, what will I do? No hype, just plain old structure and hopefully fundamental investing. Shall we look at structure? This is what I've kind of got at the minute. We will talk about it because it is important. The thing that I have red flags on is how weak the bounce is. Now I know it's Thanksgiving week. That will be interesting. Now for me, this is the structure high. Obviously, it's a previous all-time high. We're in obviously a very, very interesting period. On the weekly time frame, we're stalling underneath levels of resistance. That's a problem. So we have dumped quite a lot, about 30%, give or take. My fundamental element around, analysis is using Fibonacci and market structure with confluence for obvious reasons. Now, I would be very shocked, if we don't get to at least 91,000. I would be also shocked if we don't also try and get towards 98,000 in terms of the logical element of a bounce. The reason why I say this, and I know it's going to sound pretty noddy to some, we've had a big dump. Normally when you have like a big move, you get a big reaction, you get a big bounce. So the fact that we're kind of at this point where nothing's happened yet is a little bit interesting. And yes, I know people will zoom out and go, yeah, we're still kind of in an uptrend by the skin of one bollock. That's a situation where we're at. It is looking rather nasty. So yeah, you could argue trend is up, momentum is weak. This is where I think mistakes will happen because one mistake will be very, very clear. We bounce, bull market, we're going to go again. For me, I look at this whole level and I think no matter where it goes, it has to create a new high at some point for it to continue in this cycle. Probably very unlikely. I talked about it in my Patreon yesterday. I'm more likely to say that between 70 and 80% chance the market is over in terms of this cycle is over. It's done. So there's a very, very small probability that we're going to go higher from this point. The given element towards this is obviously, yes, what do we do? And let's just say, for example, we do go up to these levels, which is fine. And if we do consolidate at levels up here, yeah, fine. But how long do we consolidate for? What happens next? And I know there's a lot of elements around, liquidity and what's going to happen in December. It's just not going to be like a tap turn. It really won't be. So unless the macro element changes, unless the policy changes, at the minute, time of recording, it's not looking good, bruv. So if you are interested, Patreon offers this sort of content on a daily basis. There's a lot of stuff happening. I am building courses. There's exclusive videos. There's a private Discord, all that kind of stuff. Right now, 35% off if you jump in on the annual payment. This will end on the 2nd of December. There is courses coming, more courses. There's already 2 on there. There will be even more. There's about 7 or 8 courses going to be included throughout this within your membership. If you are not a member, you can obviously buy it. That's totally fine. But if you want a bit of a freebie, there's a lot of the stuff here. Jump in. So let's talk about what I will do if we go higher, the upside, because I've already sold 3 times pretty much over the course of June and October between the range of $111,000 to $117,000, $120,000 in Bitcoin. And I said that months back. I always had a plan between 110 and 150. I will be slowly bugging out because I bought lower. I've bought a lot lower. I've been in this market for a very long time. And the amount of money that I had was pretty crazy. So I had to manage my own portfolio. But as I say, right, if we do go higher, I probably will be selling again. Just saying, for obvious reasons. I do, as I say, find it unlikely that we're going to hit those levels. But ultimately, we need to get a lot more momentum. And even on the lower time frames, it just looks like there's nothing really here. There's no real bite to these moves at all. Even when we look at the stable currency dominance, even if we look at the Bitcoin dominance, even if we look at momentum with volume, it just is pretty ugly. And that's where we are. 12-hour time frame, we are still in an absolute honking downtrend. Everything's bearish. It's ugly. This is going up, which is bad. That's the stable currency dominance, by the way. You should know that. But the fundamentals are very clear. We haven't had a bounce yet. Bitcoin dominance as well is giving me some jitters because it isn't doing what I expected it to do. And the reason why I say that is because when we look at this, we'd look at this as being bullish, as wow, okay, we're going down. that basically means that Bitcoin is dropping off more than altcoins in this current state. Therefore, it looks worse on your altcoins because obviously Bitcoin's holding the majority of that price up. So it's looking pretty ugly. And that's, again, we talk about that in terms of what's important. There's no fresh capital coming into this market. There's no liquidity coming into this market. And if we don't get that, we're going to get a problem. And yeah, we can talk about Thanksgiving and stuff like that, but we might well be getting lower orders first before we actually get some high ones. But realistically, if we break below 80k, it's going to get ugly. If we, go back up into these regions, fair, it'd be good. But also, we could roll over. That'd be very interesting. So yeah, first point of call is if we go higher, keyword if, this red box will be looking interesting. If we go higher, yeah, I personally will be taking a bit more off the table to hopefully keep more capital. But we need to talk about the bearish scenario. The more likely scenario, we are probably going to go lower, even if we get into this region, even if we go into this level and we just roll over, because what it's given us is probably a perfect swing opportunity to go even lower. And I know it's bearish and I know people are going to start crying, but we look at these extension levels where the previous all-time high is. Perfect. We look even lower into another 618 level. Perfect confluence. What about if it goes even down? Yeah, you get my idea. So for me, I'd be easily looking at these areas thinking, wow, that would be the perfect opportunity. Because yes, we do have lack of momentum. That's obvious. Dominance is still quite topsy-turvy. It's not looking great because that liquidity is thin. Buyers are slowing down. The funding rate is creeping up still. This isn't bearish. It's normal. You could argue it's probably healthy because we've had a big move. And I think we need to look at that side of it because people are forgetting that we have went from $15,000 to $126,000. And people are like, oh, but this is like crap. This is shit. We haven't made, you just missed the boat, right? And that's why I'm consolidating and protecting my ass because yes, I wanted to go a bit higher to take a bit more off the table, but I'm already protected. As I say, I've got stable currencies. If we go lower, I'm buying more. Simple as that. And those are the levels that I'm looking at. And I'm not going to mince my words. People will miss this opportunity because the two happy looking at altcoins, or they're not going to be in the market. They've already quit and they've left. And people forget that Bitcoin rarely moves in straight lines. It's horrible. It's ugly. It just does what it wants. And the strongest rallies will always come from a reset. I think we're in that reset because even when we look at historic levels, right, from the high to where we dropped, we did a 36% correction. That's ugly, but that's normal for Bitcoin, right? Yes, we could correct from this point and go higher. I do think there's a smaller chance of that happening though. If we do, it will catch people out, but that's fine. As I said at the start of this video, I am prepared both ways. That's totally fine. I've got some Bitcoin. I'm happy. I've got some stables to buy low. I'm happy, right? But that probability of that is unlikely. But even if we go down to this first level here around the previous all-time high, give or take, it's around 45%, give or take. Still quite low for Bitcoin in terms of percentages of historic levels. Again, we go down to the 50s. We're still under 60%. Remember, previous cycles, 84%, 74%. There's still a chance it can go down into these $40,000 levels. And it's still been normal for Bitcoin, which is crazy, right? But yeah, just to kind of repeat what I said, if we go higher, as in we bounce, I will be taking a bit more profit off the table. Obviously, yes, I'm protecting capital in this situation. But the reality is here, the more likelihood is we go lower. But ideally, we want to bounce first, obviously. But a lot of this, right, and I know it's like for some people, like, what the hell am I on about? This is just my plan. This is my plan. And you could argue, yes, I was expecting us to go to at least $150,000 this cycle. Missed it by a little bit. Not by much, though. In all fairness, I said that a long, long time ago. But with this, you've got to stick to your levels so you don't have emotion. For me, these are where I'm starting. I'm already buying Bitcoin now. I'm already doing a dollar cost average challenge. That, again, is on my Patreon. You can watch that and you can see that. There's a link on my website as well in terms of what I've got in terms of that little pot. And that's £60 a week every single Sunday. As we get lower, that will increase. I will add to it. Go lower, I'll add even more. Even lower, I will really throw money at it, right? To get those dollar cost averages in, to buy the lumps, to throw my own capital in there because I believe in Bitcoin. And I believe if I buy a lot more lower, I'll have a lot more units. I will also make more money in the next cycle because I think we'll go higher than 126,000. That is my overall opinion, not financial advice, of course. And yeah, we can talk about how the total 3, for example, market capitalization chart, not the best in the world, has totally failed. This was the prior cycle. This was this cycle. What's happened? Even though we've got more coins, even though we've got more emissions, the liquidity layer of buying altcoins just hasn't happened at all. And I know, I said it, I probably ruined my own brand by going, I don't think we're going to get a big alt season this cycle. And people were like, wow, you're stupid, and unfollowed me. That's fine. I get it. Everyone's got an opinion. But I'm really glad that I had Bitcoin as my core element of my portfolio, because as I said in previous cycles, if I did what I did last time in terms of altcoins and talk about altcoins and telling everyone that altcoins were great, I would have been ruined. But the fact that like a year and a half ago now, I said I'm not going to do it, people hated that. And I still think we're on course for this to go lower because liquidity matters. By the way, if you've not yet done so, there's a link below. You get an extra $15 on top of the offer with the Black Friday deal. It doesn't last for long. There will be a Cyber Monday one, so if you're not paid yet, go for it. But ultimately, it is cheap. If you are an investor, you need to get involved with having TradingView because it does everything for you. So if we're talking about the ETFs, and I mentioned just briefly there the liquidity problem, we're having a lot of outflows here. You can see that across the BlackRock version. You know, overall the funds are up, but over the last month, you can see it's very red. And that's a big, big problem. And even if, yes, we look at the BlackRock one, which is fair enough, it's doing okay. And I've got no issues with it. But over the course of time, you've got to look at what the performance is and what's happening. The one thing that I will say, and I think people have forgotten, right? And whether you are looking at this in more detail elsewhere, that's fine. But a lot of people who are buying this are probably new people. And it is a product that BlackRock and Fidelity and all these big fund managers are offering for people to invest in Bitcoin without that skill. And when you talk about how the corrections happened, how many people have shot themselves? Probably quite a lot. You got to remember, right? Bitcoin hasn't moved much over the last year, give or take. It's been very, very low. It's been outperformed by stocks. It's been outperformed by gold, for example, right? So people might be like, oh, God, jittery. I wish I didn't do that, without looking at the longer term time horizon. So that liquidity part of it is huge. There's no coincidence to note that when you take billions out of the ETFs, right, the price is going to go down, right? Doesn't take much to look at the fact that this is the altcoin market. Every single time we bounce, there's something nice happening. The confluence between these is Ethereum did something, right? That's scary. Most people will panic at pullbacks, and I get it. I understand it, because you don't always expect them at the highs. I know, funny that, because you think you're just going to keep winning forever. But that's the thing. Everyone's talking about, oh, this cycle's different. We're going to keep going into technology cycle. It does not always work like that, because we have had really big, obvious warning signs that we were a bit toppy. It wasn't looking great. ETFs were controlling the market. And obviously, the macro side of it, when Donald Trump comes out with a tariff, for example, right, that becomes a bit of a sore point. And when we talk about the likes of the stable currency dominance, and if you watch my channel and if you're liking and following and watching, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, because I always mention it. This is the key for the entire crypto market, because this is a stable currency dominance alongside Bitcoin dominance, alongside the Bitcoin price. It's huge because Bitcoin will always punish the impatient, and it will reward the people with a plan and a longer term plan, because that's how it behaves. I'm not trying to time every single perfect wick. I'm not. I'm trying to accumulate at right levels, but also being the right side of the market. If it pumps, I stay controlled. I will gradually wind out. I'm not that maximalist that will say I'm going to buy Bitcoin forever and hold it forever. I'm not. I don't like that. I want to always reward myself. But also, if it drops, I'm prepared. I will buy more. This, in my opinion, could well be going much higher. So yeah, I know it's not pretty, but as I say, I do cover a lot of this in my Patreon. If you are interested, I would highly suggest you jump in. Even if you become a free member, you will get some nice little nuggies. But yeah, watch this video. This will help you a lot in terms of why I think a lot of people are going to get a little bit destroyed in the longevity side of it, because they are looking at a market in a different way now.